Croglin Grange, from Archdeacon Hare's autobiography. Fisher may sound like a very plebeian name, but this family is of very ancient lineage, and for many hundreds of years they have possessed a very curious old place in Cumberland, which bears the weird name of Croglin Grange. The great characteristic of the house is that never at any period of its long existence has it been more than 1 story high, but it has a terrace from which large grounds sweep away towards the church in the hollow, a fine distant view. When in the lapse of years the Fishers outgrew Croglin Grange in the family and fortune, they were wise enough not to destroy the long-standing characteristic of the place by adding another story to the house, but they went away to the south to reside in Thorncombe near Guildford, and they let Croglin Grange. They were extremely fortunate in their tenants, 2 brothers and a sister. They heard their praises from all quarters. To the poor neighbours they were all the most kind and beneficent, and to the neighbours of high class spoke of them as a welcome addition to the little society of the neighbourhood. In their part the tenants were greatly delighted with the new residence. The arrangement of the house, which would have been a trial to many, was not so to them. In every respect Croglin Grange was exactly what suited them. The winter was spent most happily by the new tenants of Croglin Grange, who shared in all little social pleasures of the district, and made themselves very popular. In following summer they were one day, which was dreadfully annihilatingly hot. The brothers lay under the trees with their books. It was far too hot for any active occupation. The sister sat on the veranda and worked, or tried to work, for the intense sultriness of that summer day was next to impossible. They dined early, and after dinner they still sat on the enjoying the cool air which came with evening, and they watched the sunset, the moon rise over the belt of trees which separated the grounds from the churchyard, seeing it mount the heavens till the whole lawn was bathed in silver light, across which the long shadows from the shrubbery fell as if embossed, so vivid and distinct they were. When they separated for the night, all retiring to their rooms on the ground floor, for as I said there was no upstairs to the house, the sister felt that the heat was still so great that she could not sleep, and having fastened her window, she did not close the shutters. In that very quiet place it was not necessary, and propped against the pillows, she still watched the wonderful marvellous beauty of the summer night. Gradually she became of 2 lights which flickered in and out from the belt of trees, which separated the lawn and the churchyard, and as her gaze became fixed upon them, she saw them emerge, fixed in the dark substance and definitely ghastly something, which seemed every moment to become nearer, increasing in size and substance as it approached. Every now and then it was lost for a moment in the long shadows which stretched across the lawn from the trees, then it emerged larger than ever, still coming on. As she watched, the most uncontrollable horror seized her. She longed to get away. The door was close to the window, and the door was locked on the inside, and while she was unlocking it, she must be for an instant nearer to it. She longed to scream, but her voice seemed paralyzed, her tongue glued to the roof of her mouth. Suddenly, she could never explain why afterwards, but the terrible object seemed to turn to one side, seemed to be going round to the house, not to be coming to her at all, and immediately she jumped out of bed and rushed to the door. But as she was unlocking it, she heard scratch, scratch, scratch upon the window, and saw a hideous brown face with flaming eyes glaring at her. She rushed back to bed, but the creature continued to scratch, scratch, scratch upon the window. She felt a sort of mental comfort in the knowledge that the window was securely fastened on the inside. Suddenly the scratching sound ceased, and a kind of pecking sound took its place. Then, in her agony, she became aware that the creature was picking the lead. The noise continued, and a diamond pane of glass fell into the room. Then a long bony finger of the creature came in and turned the handle to the window, and the window opened, and the creature came in, and it came across the room. Her terror was so great that she could not scream, and it came up to her bed and twisted its long bony fingers into her hair, and dragged her head over to the side of the bed, and bit her violently on the throat. As it bit her, her voice was released, and she screamed with all her might and main. Her brothers rushed in out of their rooms, but the door was locked on the inside. A moment was lost while they got a poker and broke into it. The creature then had already escaped through the window, and the sister, bleeding violently from the wound on her throat, was lying unconscious on the floor on the side of the bed. One brother pursued the creature, which fled before him through the moonlight with gigantic strides, and eventually seemed to disappear over the wall into the churchyard. Then he joined his brother by his sister's bedside. She was dreadfully hurt, and her wound was a very definite one. But she was of strong disposition, not to be given in to romance or superstition, and when she came to herself she said, "What has happened is most extraordinary, and I am very much hurt. It seems inexplicable, but of course there is an explanation, and we must wait for it. It will turn out to be a lunatic escaped from some asylum and found his way here." The wound healed, and she appeared to get well, but the doctor who was sent for would not believe that she could bear such a terrible shock so easily, and insisted she must have changed, mental and physical, so her brothers took her to Switzerland. Being a sensible girl, when she went abroad she threw herself at once into the interests of the country she was in. She dried plants, made sketches, went up mountains, and as autumn came, she was the person who urged that they should return to Croglin Grange. "We have taken it," she said, "for 7 years, and we have only been there 1. And we shall always find it difficult to let a house which is only 1 story high, so we had better return there. Lunatics do not escape every day," as she urged. Her brothers wished nothing better. The family returned to Cumberland. From there being no upstairs to the house, it was impossible to make any great change to the arrangements. The sister occupied the same room, but it was unnecessary to say that she always closed her shutters, which, however, as in many old houses, always left open one top pane of the window uncovered. The brothers moved and occupied a room together, exactly opposite of their sister. They always kept loaded pistols in their room. The winter passed most peacefully and happily, and in the following March the sister was suddenly awakened by the sound she remembered only too well. Scratch, 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 upon the window, and looking up, she saw quite clearly in the topmost pane of the window the same hideous brown shriveled face with glaring eyes, looking in at her. This time she screamed as loud as she could. Her brothers rushed out of their rooms with pistols and out of the front door. The creature was already scuttling across the lawn. One of the brothers fired and hit it in the leg, but still with the other leg it continued to make way, scrambled over the wall into the churchyard, and seemed to disappear into the vault which belonged to a family long extinct. The next day the brothers summoned all the tenants of Croglin Grange, and in their presence the vault was opened. A horrible scene revealed itself. The vault was full of coffins, but they had been broken into, and their contents, horribly mangled and distorted, were scattered across the floor. One coffin alone remained intact. Of that the lid had been lifted, but still lay loose upon the coffin. They raised it, and there, brown, withered, shriveled, mummified, but quite entire, was the same hideous figure which had looked in on the windows of Croglin Grange, with the marks of a recent pistol shot in the leg. And they did the only thing that could lay a vampire. They burnt it.